Welcome to MJ Sailing. We're Matt and Jessica, a couple that left Michigan for the nomadic lifestyle 7 years ago. Recently, we refitted an aluminum boat to sail to the Arctic and explore some of the more remote areas of the planet. Thanks for joining the adventure. In our last episode, we had left the Sound of Mull, meaning our time in the Inner Hebrides was now finished. Spending a few days in Oban, we tackled a couple of boat chores, but then it was time for us to begin working our way south. Leaving from a secluded anchorage in the area, we departed Scotland for an overnight sail to Belfast in Northern Ireland, but with some tricky tides and currents to take into consideration along the way.
It is so incredibly strange to be looking at the clock right now, and it's 4:30 p.m. and I'm watching the sun go down. But we are coming up to that Strait of Jura. I'll find out to where it can be nasty. It's really well known. I know we say that a lot of places we go, but I think it's really true around here. So we've been warned by many people to come at slack tide, which we're coming up on, and I will let Matt give you a bit more of a rundown on that.
Right now you're going to hear the engine still running. It's kind of twofold, two birds with one stone type situation. We're running into the Sound of Jura, which is the area where there's still a lot of water flow through here. It's kind of one of those passes that everyone talks about. We should be timing it right, but there are still going to be whirlpools, or there's possible still whirlpools here. So it's a good idea to have the engine running in reserve just in case. But the real reason that we have it running, well, we would have it anyway just in case. But
the reason we've had it running up to this point.
Yeah, the reason why we've had it running up to this point, we haven't been using wind power as much, is we spent the past 3 days after leaving Oban in a nice protected anchorage. Unfortunately, we haven't had much solar, and we haven't had much wind because we are fairly protected there. So we're running right now kind of in a deficit for power rate. We actually let it go below 50%, which we never ever do. It's at 48 right now.
Was when we left.
It was at 48 when we left. But really we need to build up our battery bank a little bit, try to build up some charge before we go silent and do wind power for the rest of the way. So we're going to run the engine about 2 hours. And once we get through this pass and we're in an area where we don't have to worry about the tidal flow as much, we don't have to worry about the possibility of whirlpools or anything like that, then we'll be able to flip it off and run battery power, and the wind gen should be able to keep up with the autopilot, chart plotter, radar, all those fun things for the rest of the night.
And there is some of that tidal flow right now. So let's see how this pass goes, and quite glad to be doing it in the last bits of daylight. So I think we have the engine at 1400 RPM.
1400 RPM, we've got 10 knots true wind speed right now coming from behind us. Just a little bit of staysail out, and we are doing 8-1 right now. So I think the tide has probably already changed a little bit in the spot.
few changes in the water in this area. Wouldn't want to see it when it's ripping at its full current, full potential. Head back to the campsite now.
Yeah, we're doing 9.2 right now. Again, 1400 RPM on the end. Barely actually doing 9.2. Yeah, apparently it did already change.
In a hurry.
Yeah, it is.
9.2. 9.3. 9.4. That is just climbing. 9.5. Wow.
It's weird because all the tide atlas right now is showing that it should be slack through here right now. And realistically, with the engine running the way it is, we should be on 5. So it's showing us right now we are about 3.5 knots of current behind us pushing us, which again, it should be slack right now. So whatever.
If only we could have a 10 knot constant speed all the way to Belfast, that would be quite the ride. Starting to think that a catamaran needs to be in our future. One of those that...
A fast one.
Yeah, performance catamaran that like averages 10 knots. That would be pretty good. I'd like that. In this spot right now too. We've got the currents, but we're protected from the seas, and it's really nice to be outside and getting fresh air again. So fingers crossed that the rest of the passage goes well, and definitely fingers crossed that more windows come for us to make the way down the Irish Sea, down to southern England, and safely get tucked into Plymouth and Sutton Harbour Marina before winter comes.
So true wind speeds, we're right around 5.5 knots of wind. We're doing 9.5.
Yeah, and we just went through a little push where it was like 10.3.
Yeah, it was doing 10.3 at that point. And again, we have 5 knots of wind. There's like no wind at all. It's just current.
Just current doing that. Crazy.
It's crazy. The
And
big
you can
thing
see
was
like
you
how
can,
far the current's pushing us off our heading.
yeah, it brought the apparent wind forward. It's actually supposed to be behind us right now, but it started bringing it forward, and
crazy, crazy currents.
yeah, it's so weird. It is calm though. It is flat, except for whirlpools.
We also thought that when we went through this strait, we would have passed through all of like the whirlpools. We knew that there was a section between two islands that we weren't going through, but through that section, it could get pretty bad. What we didn't expect is how much we would still feel of it just passing next to it. We're still getting some like whirlpools right now. Sometimes we'll get rushes where we'll go from 7 knots to 9 knots in literally 1.5 seconds. It just gets behind you. A few times that we started to like wave off course, but like Matt said, it's been really calm. It's nice. The wind is low. I can actually cook dinner tonight without it being an issue at all. So yeah, we just have to keep an eye on our course because it's, I don't know, 30 degrees off our heading, and not too long ago it wanted to push us into an island.
Oh.
And wind shift. Okay, time to change the sails. Well, doing about 11 knots and 6 knots of wind. Thank you, current. Not that we need that right now. We want to slow down.
Yeah, when you're trying to do 4.5 average, 11.2 isn't helping things.
No. 11.3. be time to roll in one of those sails.
Yeah.
We are entering the Belfast Sound right now, and we had such a great current pushing us along this morning once we had it on our side again. I think that apparent wind speed, and it was behind us, was around 4 knots, and we were averaging 9 knots, so that really helps to get that kind of push. And although we didn't have any ships pretty much all through the night, now we are starting to find them again. Coming into the harbor here, and in about 3 miles we'll be hitting the channel. So I will have to call the harbor master and make sure that we're allowed to enter, that we're not going to get in the way of any ferries or other cargo ships. So happy the sun is out, still pretty chilly, and looking forward to my second cup of coffee this morning because one is not enough.
Belfast, Harbour, radio, Successor 6. Yeah, just stretch and permission to make away from your block.
The next morning, as we left the boat to find our way back into civilization, it was not in Belfast we were doing this. Arriving to the city's marina, we found only 2 tight spots remaining, and at very awkward angles no less. The city had just held a large fireworks display the night before, and it drew quite a large crowd. With only 90 minutes of daylight remaining, we made the decision to travel back through Belfast Lough, near the harbour entrance, where we tucked into a spot at Bangor Marina just as dusk was settling in. The largest marina in Northern Ireland, Bangor sits on the southern edge of this bay, with easy access to and from the Irish Sea. Colorful homes line the waterfront, providing a perfect backdrop for enjoying a cup of coffee in your cockpit. You'll find many locals out and about here, as there are great paths for walking the shoreline, and Picky Park brings in those with small children. A lovely town and access to great amenities, we were almost tempted to end our season here and stay for the winter.
Dead ahead! Just got off the train, headed to the Titanic Museum, which is the big building right there. So, gonna get away from the noisy expressway and a little closer to the shore.
This behind me here is the Belfast Harbour Marina, where we showed up 2 nights ago and were kind of turned away. We turned ourselves away, but they had, I think I mentioned, the fireworks display the night before, so it was just full in here. And I mean, I don't know if you can see where like the house type of boat is. There was a spot in front of it, but it just looked really questionable, and so the currents were just ripping through, and we had to make a split-second decision of, do we try and force ourselves in here or use the last bits of daylight to get out and try and get into Bangor, which is what we did, and we're very thankful that we did. But it's still a pretty cool place to be because we're right in the Titanic Quarter. Titanic Museum is right there. Shopping center right here. I don't think we're going to spend too much time in this spot today because we have one day with like 7 hours of daylight to explore Belfast. So we're just going to do a little walking around here, but kind of cool to know where we tried to go. And who knows, maybe we'll end up here another time.
we are right now in the Titanic Quarter. The reason why there's a museum here is this is actually where Titanic was built. Right over there, I believe, is where the yard was that built Titanic. Right behind us is the museum, and then, more importantly, just kidding, is Titanic Studios, where parts of Game of Thrones was filmed. So, kind of a full circle type of thing. We got it all here. So, museum behind us, it's shaped like the White Star for the White Star Line. Behind us is a pneumatic, which was the tender to Titanic. It ferried people in and out of the area and to the boat. It's a lot of historical things around here. Very, very cool museum. And so we're going to go explore it a little bit more.
Along our route, we passed the Big Fish, a ceramic sculpture created in 1999. It showcases a mosaic of tiles decorated with text and images relating to Belfast's history. Each scale of the fish tells a story, and at 3 meters by 10 meters, it's a fun and interesting way to learn a bit more about the city. The perfect place to get outside of the cold and surrounded by beautiful things. We are in the Botanical Gardens by the University Park, and this is only one of many buildings. And I've heard there's plants in here that are 400 years old, so we're gonna inspect things a little closer and just try and stay twisty.
We're in our climate now.
Yeah. Over the tropical rainforest.
Yeah, over here is a tropical rainforest. Very excited with the temperature it is outside right now. We're very excited to get in here and just kind of relax. Feels like being at home again in Guatemala or in Thailand or any other place we've been.
So humid, the camera lens is not enough.
I know, it's so nice though.
Yes. Just spend the rest of the afternoon here. Although we could have stayed there for hours soaking up the warmth, after our time in the Botanic Gardens, we visited the neighboring Ulster Museum, filled with articles of history through the ages, natural sciences, and even a bit of theatrics which reign local to the area. The Ulster is another excellent stop. It also has the great program of free entry, with donation boxes placed throughout if you do feel inclined to support during your visit. It wasn't long before we realized we needed to catch the train back to Bangor, thankful for yet another wonderful stop as we slowly wind down our cruising season.
Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. Give me your freedom. Whoa, yeah, to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. Life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium.